everybody, thank you so much for being here today. I want to be honest with you. I feel like I'm getting into a bit of a video rut. I've done some here recently that I love so much. They were really good ideas and I was very happy with them and loved the way the videos came together. And then I got to this video and I'm thinking, what am I going to shoot for my Saturday video? And I just felt low on ideas. So I asked on Instagram, I did one of those little question boxes and I said, what would you guys like to see next? Sometimes you just need to refresh the video to-do list, and I wanted to see what you guys would say, and I saw so many people requesting shop my stash, use older products, use what you already have. I couldn't believe the desire for that. I mean, that is kind of a request I see even in my comments sections from time to time. People like that kind of video, but sometimes I think we as the YouTubers think well, all anybody cares about is the new stuff. And I think a lot of people do, but the amount of requests for shop my stash really made me happy, and that's kind of a direction I want to be going with my channel more often. So I thought, okay, let's do a shop my stash, and I get up here and I'm starting to pull things out, and a couple of the things I found, I was like, oh, that reminds me of YouTube back in the day, 10 or more years ago on YouTube, you know what I'm saying, the early days. And I thought, what if I put together a full face of things that just remind me of that time, the things that OG YouTubers love, things that were really popular, and I'm pretty sure they're all still sold to this day, at least most of them are. And also the things I have in this bag, it's not like they're the original old stuff, like my foundation here. This was something I received more recently in PR, but I had it back then. I even went in my closet and I have some drawers of backups of things, and I looked through there and that gave me some ideas too. So I'm gonna start out with some primer. This is Smashbox Photo Finish. Oh, there is a seal on it because I took it out of that drawer. I remember this being one of the first ever high-end products that I owned. I remember my sister getting it for me one Christmas, and it was the first coming of primer, the first primer that ever really got talked about and buzzed about. And it is wow, so smoothing. I do like the feel. It goes on with that slip across the skin. I do actually feel like it's adding some moisture. I know they have the Photo Finish Light that I sort of started to gravitate toward more, but the original Photo Finish, I mean, we're talking earliest days of me getting on YouTube. This was something that was I remember being new to me and exciting, and I was so glad to have it. By the way, this eye got real irritated yesterday. It was so weird. I put my contact in and I was like, oh, it feels like there's something in my eye. Take the contact out, things felt fine. I just kind of kept toughing it out because there would be times where it did feel okay, but by the end of the day I took it all out and I'm like, I shouldn't have probably tried to even tough it out like that. Next thing, for foundation, the Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-Hour Foundation. I remember so many people loving this, and not only this, but with a big old brush. This was the brush that people used. It's from Tarte. It's a good brush, but I haven't used that for foundation in the longest time. So I have this in the shade medium. I know this did come not that long ago as a PR sample. So it is this moussey matte foundation. The staying power is pretty good. I think it's really geared toward people with, I would say, from normal to combo skin to oily skin. And then this big brush, oh, this is gonna feel so funny using this, but I'm gonna blend that in. Oh, the coverage is nice. It's reminding me a lot of their little Skin Treat stuff. The texture is very, very similar. And when you use this brush, you do maintain a lot of the coverage because you're not pressing super hard on just one area. This was real big on QVC. I think Tarte was having more of a QVC moment. Not that they aren't still. I think they're a huge brand for QVC right now. But back then they were really I don't know, starting to bust out. Okay, there I am. I feel matte. I don't feel like I look dry, actually. I mean, I am very well moisturized underneath, and I've got that nice primer underneath too. But yeah, I haven't used that in a long time. I would love to know with all this stuff who's still using it. Let me know in the comments section. My Bobbi Brown corrector and the concealer duo, so this is where she puts her creamy concealer and a powder together. These are so good. Really, really good products. I've repurchased these within the past last, I want to say, couple of years. But I have this bisque corrector, and it is a really, really good option for a salmon-y, peachy corrector. And I remember having these fairly early on in my YouTube days. Like, again, I remembered ordering them off of QVC and doing a video about it like this was my anniversary gift from Bub, and we were in the apartment. And I remember like awkwardly sitting on his lap during the video because like we couldn't figure out how to make it all work. But there I've put on some of the bisque corrector. I used this pretty recently in my top 5 series for David's top 5. He was recommending this. Sorry, got a hair there. By the way, I need to get somebody new to feature on that. But man, that corrector does work so well. Really nice. And then you take just the creamy concealer, which is skin tone, and this I have in the shade Natural, and then the pale yellow powder. So I take that concealer, and man, this is none too light, is it? Oh, I remember being so thrilled to have these Bobbi Brown products back then, and that was when I had, you know, very little high-end makeup, so it really felt like a big deal to have this. I'm not seeing anything wrong with this look so far. Looking great, actually. Here's a drugstore thing I remember people getting really excited about. These split pan products from Wet n Wild. Do they still make this caramel toffee shade? I know I've seen another one like still in stores recently, but this one, I really like the coolness of these. And this is just a matte powder and then like a contour. And I'm gonna use my e.l.f. small tapered brush with some of this to just set and hopefully brighten my under eye a little bit. This is great stuff. Oh, I can hear it's starting to rain now. I saw our weather guy post on Facebook that these storms could be loud, so you might hear some booms in the background. It has been a rainy couple of days here where we live, Southern Illinois. Okay, so there's that. I basically used that side of the powder to set my whole T-zone. I needed to go find Wet n Wild Reserve Your Cabana because remember that powder being so like brightening and nice. Now I'm gonna take the contour side and I'm just gonna use that to contour. Gosh, I haven't used this in a long time. Remember when like limited edition collections from Wet n Wild were so sought after? Like when word got out that there was a new one in Walgreens, like everybody rushed to get it and it was a big deal, you know? I kind of miss when limited edition drugstore collections were special like that, kind of exciting. Okay, this is real gentle. I'm just trying to build it up a little bit on my forehead. Oh man, that's a good cheek contour. Good, good, good. I'm using just my e.l.f. complexion brush today. For blush, I had 2 that I wanted to mention in this video. One is Milani Luminoso, which of the baked blushes, I remember when these first came out, and there were actually quite a few different shades that I personally preferred over Luminoso, but I think this has had a big resurgence in popularity due to TikTok. A lot of TikTokers will go through and like talk about how this is a must-have. And then also the Tarte blush in Exposed. This one was such a big deal, and it doesn't look like much in the pan. Let's put this on first and just let you see the magic of Tarte Exposed because it really is a pretty blush. It's one of their Amazonian clay 12-hour blushes. And look, it really does do something, you know? This right alongside with that foundation, these were super popular. Like, look how it's giving me rosy cheeks. It kind of is like a rosier take on Benefit Dallas, you know? Okay, so there's Exposed, super pretty. Who still loves this blush to this day? Because I believe they're still selling it. And then we're gonna layer on top of that a little bit of the Luminoso, because this is kind of glowy, peachy. Sorry, you're not gonna get like the purest take on this blush right now because I'm going over something, but it is pretty, don't get me wrong. It's a nice, beautiful blush. It looks like it would be so soft where it wouldn't show, but it does show. And it's glowy, it's softly glowy. I like it, but I think back in the day there were people who would lay down their lives for this blush. It has felt so weird in this house because Bub has been out of town. He's at like a legal conference down in Houston, and he actually met somebody the other day. He's like, I met somebody who met me at IMATS way back when. But he's down there and they traveled down Tuesday real early. So basically all day Tuesday he was out of the picture. Wednesday, like, things kicked off with a golf outing or something. And then today I'm sitting here Thursday shooting this video. Thursday and Friday is the bulk of like the whole conference stuff. And then Friday night, they're flying back home afterward. So after not traveling for a long time, and he doesn't even, I wouldn't say he frequently travels for his work anyway, but also COVID like just changed a lot for attorneys in the last year, just the way court happens and all kinds of things. So it just feels so strange to have him gone. And it's like in the evenings after the kids go to bed, I'm sitting there like, you gonna call me soon? Anyways, I'm not used to this, but we're gonna do our highlighter now. And this highlighter, 100%, I remember criticizing this highlighter for being too glowy back in the day, like back in the old house days. Mary Luminizer from The Balm. And this was like right when highlighter was starting to happen. And I remembered being very concerned about like the way highlighter would show pores, lines, like anything on the face and just exaggerate imperfections more. And then somewhere along the line, like standards just changed. And I feel this is a very good highlight and a very beautiful highlight, and they've come out with different versions of it and they're all good. But it was just funny how I saw this as just like coming on too strong, and now it feels just fine. I'm like, no, it's no problem. Isn't that crazy? Because then I remember in the years that followed soon after, I really enjoyed it. It truly has always been a good highlight for a long, long time. It was highlight before highlights were cool. And at that time I was using a lot of like Laura Geller Baked French Vanilla, and I was thinking that looked more flattering on my skin, but really they're both good in their own special ways. So let's just put it on already using my Real Techniques setting brush and just swirling that on here. See, it is incredibly glowy, but it's pretty. Like now I look at that and I think, yeah, that's great. I can handle that. It only takes a little bit, I will say that. I mean, it's probably one of the Balm's most iconic products. I was thinking about pulling in a eye palette from The Balm for this video, but then I thought, you know, I think overall that brand has been more iconic for me and not necessarily like incredibly iconic for everyone else, you know? I'm loving the skin. I mean, this, got the Bobbi Brown. I knew the Bobbi Brown is like classic, but like this as well. Oh, I'm going way back. This is fun. You wanted to shop my stash, you got it this time. I'm gonna use MAC Fix Plus because I think this probably was like one of the first things people used as setting spray. Happy with the look, very pleased. Here's an interesting one, friends. It was something that I remembered being very popular back in the day. Like this was the thing that was first getting real popular for ABH, and it was the Dip Brow Pomade, and particularly among like the online beauty community, people were doing real like intense, very sculpted, very carved out brows were becoming a big deal. And it took me a long time to get this. Like I didn't first get this until a couple of years ago, I think, but I have it in medium brown. It's so creamy, and yeah, we're gonna use it in our brows today. So it's kind of like Em was late to the party on this one, but I really remember this being a go-to for many people, the Dip Brow Pomade. So I'm getting it in there, and then I'm using, this is an e.l.f. brush, by the way. As you can see, I got a chunk of it in a place where I didn't really want it to be. Great. God, a little goes a long way. I'm just not used to being this careful because I've been like throwing on little brow mascaras that take no thought or effort. Now I hand myself this. I don't think they've issued a severe thunderstorm watch yet, but we got a severe brow watch happening today. It's weird because I feel like I must have tried this somehow. Did I try it in like a sample or some other version to know how creamy this was? Because I feel like for a long time I compared things to this, talking about how creamy this was and how maybe not so creamy other products were. But I'm just basically going in with as little on my brush as possible, and I'm trying to start it in my brow where the brow is naturally thicker. Here I maybe started it in a little close. Okay, I like this brow better than this brow. And then I'm just going to take a little gel, hold it in place, although I think I'm getting some hold from this dip brow. You ever think sometimes brands don't want their brow product to be too multitasking, so you'll need to buy like all the components? Like, we don't want the pomade to hold too much because we want you to also be buying our gel. For eye primer, a few things are as classic as Milani eyeshadow primer. Honestly, if I had some Urban Decay primer potion, the original in the purpley tube, I would probably use that because that came into my life first. That and like Too Faced Shadow Insurance, back before Too Faced Shadow Insurance kind of got watery. I swear it seems like it's watery every tube you get, and then it kind of like evens out, but it's hard to get past the wateriness. But Urban Decay Primer Potion was like one of those things where the first time I went to Ulta, I think I got some. I remember my first time at Ulta, and it was, we were living in the old house, and I got the Too Faced Natural Eye palette because it was being raved about on YouTube. But another palette that I think many YouTubers came to love, and I found out about it through Kristen Game when we were up in Minneapolis, and she showed me this palette, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the prettiest palette ever. I think I need that. And it's still sold to this day, gang, on Ulta. It's the Lorac Unzipped palette. Look at this. My rose gold lovers. Like, this is so, so pretty. And I open it up and I feel like, oh, it looks just, you know, maybe kind of basic. Like, you're gonna think it's basic, but the textures are gorgeous. And I love the way these pretty, like, rose gold and bronzy tones come back to, like, this berry shade down here. This really rich as heck berry. So that's what I'm gonna use for my look today. Again, I was kind of trying to keep in mind those things that maybe were still being sold. Like Urban Decay Naked, the original is gone now. Too Faced Natural Eye is around, but not the way it used to be. So I'm starting out with this shade called Unconditional in my crease, and it's kind of like just this really dusty rose shadow, but kind of a cooler dusty rose than maybe we see a lot of times. And I'm just getting that going in my crease, and I'm using my Firm Blending ES2 brush from Profusion. Kind of wanting to take my brushes in a more affordable place, generally speaking. Like, just thinking of accessible brushes that don't cost an arm and a leg. Because frankly, the quality is so good. It's as good as my Sigma E25. And my E25 is getting kind of old. I've had people say that the E60 is now bigger than what I'm using on my eyes from Sigma. And I'm like, oh gosh, my E60 has been around for a long, long time. So, you know, things may have changed a little bit. There we go. Is that not just gorgeous? Could we stop there? We could if we wanted to. Then I'm using my e.l.f. flat eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to go into Untamed. So that's our nice matte, like kind of brownish berry that I speak of. And that's going to go right in my outer corner. And also we're going to let that come up and be part of the crease too. So this is just a matter of flipping your brush over. So you got some on there, you're patting, 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 you're twisting your grip a little bit so that side of your brush comes into the crease. Let it hit that deepest part there right above the eyeball and let it just gently get up there. And if it doesn't look blended yet, that's fine because we're going to go in and blend it. We're not in the blending phases, we're in the application times right now. There were so many different eyeshadows I could have chosen. I was thinking about Wet n Wild Comfort Zone. I was thinking about Lorac Pro 1. Because Lorac, you know, they really have held on to some of these classics. Comfort Zone is not the same. Like, I'm talking about the 8 pan. That was like Wet n Wild's Hello World. We've gotten good now. So now I go back to what we used in the crease, and I just go over this and let this blend and soften up. And you'll find some of that shadow now can kind of like travel inward, be in your crease a little bit more. I'm gonna take a little bit of Unspoken here. And it's kind of soft, but it's like deeper than what I first put in the crease. And I'm letting that kind of float over the edges too for added softness. And then I will use Undercover right here. And that can come up under the brow. This shade's just a matte. It's really nice to have in there. Then I'm going to go inward and I'm going to use this shade called Unreal. Super pretty, like, I don't know, what is this? The softest rose gold ever. Getting a little bit of that around the inside. And then let's do Unbelievable. That's more the classic rose gold right up above it. And that's just kind of covering the rest of our lid space until we hit that darker shade. Oh, this is such a pretty palette. It's so flattering, you know? There's no way you can work this so it doesn't look pretty on the eyes. And then they came out with the unzipped gold, which was also nice quality, but this was always the fave for me. Do we love it? I'm loving it. Then my Profusion, the small pointed ES6. I'm gonna go back into Unbridled. Did I say that's what that name is? And I'm gonna more pinpointedly get that into my outer crease. And sorry, I got off in my own little world there. I was just listening to the thunder in the distance. The thunder rolls. But I'm taking that same shade, just kind of gently under the eye. Just like so. Nice and soft and easy, not making a big deal about it. So for eyeliners, back in the early days of YouTube, I remember the 24/7 liners from Urban Decay being a really big deal, particularly the one in black, the one called Zero. But I thought I would use this one in my collection called Demolition, and it's like a really dark looking matte brown. And this probably ain't as smooth as it used to be. I got a bunch of these not too long ago in Urban Decay PR, so that's why I have this. But I'm just taking this gently along the lash line, going for kind of a soft, smudgy deal. Okay, that'll work. I also remember a variety of different gel liners being big, like MAC Black Track Fluid Line. That was huge. And a lot of MAC stuff was really like key back in those days. And don't worry, we're gonna get to lips soon, and I'm gonna throw that in. For eyes, I'm gonna say like CoverGirl Lash Blast actually. And I don't have the original version, but I have this clean version that we're gonna use here. But like the Orange Tube Lash Blast, so many people raved about that. I even remember like, I watched a lot of Tiffany D videos, and she's great, you know, and she would talk about a lot of high-end stuff, but then she always loved like the Orange Tube Lash Blast, and I don't know, I associate that with her for some reason. Now after a video where I used this, David messaged me and he's like, I swear they changed Lash Blast. And this is, you know, the clean version, so it's a little different version, but do you think Lash Blast overall, like the original, has changed over time? This one I kind of like if I layer it under something, but it's applying a bit better today than it did when it was newer for me. Like it felt so dry, and I can't actually believe that it's feeling a little less dry today. How in the world does that happen? Like I thought it was the driest mascara known to man when I first put it on. Maybe something like worked around in the tube a little bit, or I don't know. Mysteries in the makeup room. See, this is being not nearly as hard to put on. I need to get a little Maybelline Lash Discovery for the lower lashes, but for now I'm just going to use my Thrive Liquid Lash Extensions. Another big one was the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes. Very popular, still around today. Tell you, as this foundation sits on my skin, like I'm kind of looking up close and I'm thinking, I'm not absolutely loving what I'm seeing up close on it. I don't know, there's texture right in this zone. I feel like I'm seeing pores more. It could have been the application. I would almost guarantee that if I put that on with the Beauty Blender and bounced it in, I wouldn't see as much texture around here as I do now. Okay guys, I had to do a lash. I had to, and I was digging through my drawer to find some Demi Wispies, and I couldn't because I just remember that being one of the first and very popular lashes people were going for. And basically they were much shorter on the inside and flared out kind of cat eye on the outside. And while I couldn't find those, I did find a lash of that style that I think is even better. These are my Kiss My Lash, but better in the style no filters. They're in this packaging. I love those kinds of lashes. So Real is my favorite style, but these kind of give me that Demi Wispies on steroids type of idea, which is really where we want Demi Wispies to be. Okay, for lips. I had to include a MAC lipstick. I mean, these became iconic. These were things that when I started watching YouTube, that short span of time where I only watched YouTube and I didn't have a channel yet, like MAC lipstick was where it was at, and the shade Cream Cup. Oh my gosh, this is a new one. This is a new one that I have right here. Let's put it on. This is the Cream Sheen formula. Okay, so this is smoother, creamier, just a little softer color-wise, I think. See how there's just a little more shine to it? Oh my gosh, the lightness, the pinkness. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I wore this. I went out with that. It's so light. So we're really gonna be frightened for step 2, which was the gloss that Kim Kardashian, bless her heart, got everybody onto. It's the Turkish Delight gloss from NARS. This light, milky, pinky nude. Oh my goodness. What's going on top? Now, it's not like as opaque as this. I'll swatch it for you in case you don't know about this. Like, see, it's sheer. But it was always combined with a nude lip or a pinky nude lip, am I right? I'm not lying, friends. People were all about this. You know, I'm so tempted to take like a more earthy neutral lip liner and like make this make sense a little bit more on the edges for myself and kind of like deepen it up to my comfort zone. But in the spirit of this video, I think I probably shouldn't, and I should just go with this. And it's like, where am I going today? Oh, nowhere? Is it that it's that bad, or am I just really not used to seeing myself with this lip color anymore? I vividly remember like throwing Cream Cup into my purse and then going out for the night with Bub and like just having the time of my life. So this is my look, fully inspired by the products I remember people raving about back in the earlier days of YouTube. And please, I hope you're telling me in the comments section what things you remember and who you associate them with. That would be awesome. I hope you had fun as we did this look. The products I love most that I used today, by the way, honestly, these Bobbi Brown correctors and concealers are incredible. Like, they are a great product. I need to use them more. Love Lorac Unzipped. It's timeless. I mean, that eye look, it's absolutely timeless for sure. This, I was majorly reminded of this and also the exposed blush in this video. These really take me back and they're really, really good. Mary Luminizer as well, like all those face color steps are great. The kind of questionable part is that particular shade of the MAC lipstick. I mean, MAC has tons of shades, but I'm more of a twig girl these days and less of a cream cup, okay? But thank you guys again. This was so much fun. I will see you again very soon in my next video. I love you. Bye.